For ACUSports.com, I'm Grant Boone talking some Wildcat football. The Wildcats have an off week this week after the season opener against Fresno State. We've got sophomore linebacker Sam Denmark and the head coach Ken Collums. Sam, let's start with you. The game against Fresno State, deep into the third quarter, it's 21-7. The disappointment that I sensed from the team was because you felt like you had a really good chance not only to stay in it but to win that game. Is that accurate?
Oh, it's definitely accurate. You know, we come in, start the game out right. They got a couple cheap ones in the first half, unfortunately, but we go into halftime only down 2 scores, and coming out of half, we got to think that we're in a great opportunity, great chance to win this game.
Your first game as a Wildcat was in the Georgia Dome against another FBS team, Georgia State. That was a game that went down to the wire that Georgia State took there at the buzzer. And then you played Troy, an FBS team, a couple of games later. So now you've had 3 games against FBS teams. Take us through, as an FCS player on an FCS team, maybe an example of the difference when you play an FBS program offensively.
Well, I think the biggest difference is the speed, at least for me. I'm going against those guys. You're not used to facing linemen that are just as big as everyone else you go against, but maybe a step quicker. They get on you quicker. And it's also the mindset. You got to go into the game thinking they are no different than anyone else, and they really aren't. It's just a different school, different logo on their jerseys and everything.
What was your takeaway, big picture, from the game the other night?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from that game is the fact that we can grow. We have a lot of improvement to make, and we will continue to improve. And we played a hard game, but we just got to focus little things on little more details.
We rotated some new guys in on the D-line. You had a good look at them from your middle linebacker position. What did you take from not only the new guys on the D-line, but the guys behind you in the secondary, many of whom were playing their very first game?
Well, I think that I take from the biggest perspective is the fact that everyone was willing to play their hardest. I mean, everyone is different in their skills and their abilities, but everyone went out there and did the best of their abilities to fulfill their spot. And we did have some young guys in secondary. Saw Junior get his first pick, and that was really impressive. And everyone was out there ready to play, but we also have a lot of improvement to make. And as far as the D-line goes, they were doing a great job of keeping them off the linebackers. And I think the biggest thing for us is going to be communication with the front line sometimes, but that falls down with the linebackers a lot.
Kind of weird to have a bye week this early in the season?
It definitely is weird, but I think especially after our big Fresno State game, it's much needed. We have some people that need to heal from little cuts and bruises and everything, and we just need to get our minds ready to take on 9 straight conference games.
All right, let's talk to your head coach. He mentioned some of the young guys like Junior Henderson who had great first games. This is a guy you threw in his very first game, and you've relied on him heavily ever since, haven't you?
Oh, no doubt. And all he does is go out there and know what he's doing. He's a very poised individual, and he is a hot competitor now. He's one of the fiercest competitors out on the field. But he's able to keep everything within our defense and get everybody lined up. There's a lot of communication that has to go on with Sam Denmark.
You talk a lot about wanting to marry the two characteristics of passion and discipline, and he seems to embody those.
Oh, sure. I mean, you can't play the game of football with discipline only. That's not going to get it done. You can't just know what to do.
Not against an FBS team, that's for sure.
Not against anybody. But you can't play the game of college football with just passion. You can't just close your eyes and try harder. You've got to have a balance of it. And I think what happened in the Fresno State game is we were heavy on the passion, and we knew we would be. You know, it's the first game of the season. We've been waiting on this for a long time, and big crowd, big place, big school, and we were lacking a little bit on the discipline. And so that's what we've got to. As coaches, we've got to figure out. Okay, how can we become more disciplined? Is it something that was just in that game? Can we? Is it personnel issues? Is it scheme? And so we've got a little bit longer right now to figure all that out, which is good.
He mentioned some guys playing for the first time. One of those is Dallas Seeley. You worked him in midway through the second quarter after Junior Henderson gave you a short field after the interception, returned to the 35-yard line. Parker is your starting quarterback. You worked Dallas in, and then he got to finish up the game. Once the lead got stretched out, he threw a touchdown on the very last play of the game to another first-time player, Byron Proctor. What did you think about Dallas?
Well, first of all, Parker's our guy. Yeah. Parker McKenzie's solid. He is our guy. He's the guy that proved he can do it last year, and he's done a great job so far. The thing is, we felt like Dallas had done so well last spring and even this fall camp that, you know what, he's earned the right to be able to contribute to his team, because it's his team too. And I thought he played well. I don't think he played great. I don't think Parker played great either. I think both quarterbacks played well. They're going to have to play better. Parker made a couple of critical errors as far as decision making, which always cost a quarterback. Well, it doesn't always, but sometimes it does, and it did for us. But Dallas, he's a hot competitor too, and he can really throw the ball. His accuracy was a little bit off, and it's the first game. Those RPMs, man, that ball's jumping out of his hand, maybe a little bit too hard at times, but he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And our quarterback situation, we're fine.
Yeah, you can never have too many good guys throwing passes for you. So as we wrap up here, he mentioned some cuts and bruises from some guys. We saw Travis Tarver go out. You've had a chance to evaluate a little bit. Is he for sure out or for sure in for Houston Baptist a week from Saturday?
Well, it's still a long time until game day. A midfoot sprain, sometimes it takes longer. I mean, nobody can really forecast that. You look at past experience with different guys. Well, there's a lot of bones in your foot, and so they all heal a little bit differently, and a little bit differently for each person. So I don't know. I know this. He wants to be out there, as much as anybody, and he's been here and done that. He's a fifth-year senior, and you pull for those guys. You want those guys to be out there.
All right, off week this week, and then a week from Saturday, Houston Baptist comes to Shotwell Stadium, the first of 9 consecutive games in the Southland Conference. For Sam Denmark and for Coach Ken Collums, I'm Grant Boone for ACUSports.com.